The Book of Disquiet by Fernando Pessoa. Section 301. The only way you can have new sensations is by forging a new soul. It's useless to try to feel things without feeling them in a new way. And you can't feel in a new way without changing your soul. For things are what we feel they are. How long have you known this without yet knowing it? And the only way for there to be new things, for us to feel new things, is for there to be some novelty in how we feel them. Change your soul. How? That's for you to figure out. From the time we're born until we die, our soul slowly changes. Like the body. Find a way to make it change faster, even as our body changes more rapidly when suffering or recovering from certain diseases. We should never stoop down to delivering lectures, lest anyone think we have opinions, or would condescend to speak with the public. Let the public read us, if they wish. The lecturer, moreover, resembles an actor, an errand boy of art, a figure despised by any good artist. Section 302. I've discovered that I'm always attentive to and always thinking about two things at the same time. I suppose everyone is a bit like that. Certain impressions are so vague that only later, because we remember them, do we even realize we had them. I believe these impressions form a part, perhaps the internal part, of the dual attention we all possess. In my case, the two realities that hold my attention are equally vivid. This is what constitutes my originality. This, perhaps, is what constitutes my tragedy, and what makes it comic. Hunched over the ledger, I attentively record the entries that tell the useless history of an obscure firm, while at the same time, and with equal attention, my thoughts follow the route of a non-existent ship, past landscapes of an unreal Orient. For me, the two things are equally visible and equally distinct. The ruled pages on which I carefully write the commercial epic of Vasquez and Company, and the deck, where I carefully observe, beyond the ruled pattern of the floorboard's tarred joints, the rows of lounge chairs and the stretched legs of passengers relaxing on the voyage. If I were run over by a child's bicycle, the child's bicycle would become part of my history. The smoking room blocks the view. That's why only their legs can be seen. As I dip my pen in the inkwell, the door of the smoking room opens up, almost right next to where I feel I am, to reveal the face of the stranger. He turns his back to me and walks toward the others. His gait is slow, and his hips don't tell much. He's English. I begin another entry. I try to figure out where I was going wrong. The Marquez account should be debted rather than credited. I see him as a chubby and affable jokester, and suddenly the ship disappears. Section 303. The world belongs to those who don't feel. The essential condition for being a practical man is the absence of sensibility. The chief requisite for the practical expression of life is will. Since this leads to action, two things can thwart action: sensibility and analytic thought, the latter of which is just thought with sensibility. All action is by nature the projection of our personality onto the external world, And since the external world is largely and firstly made up of human beings, it follows that this projection of personality is basically a matter of crossing other people's path, of hindering, hurting, or overpowering them, depending on the form our action takes. To act, then, requires a certain incapacity for imagining the personalities of others, their joys and sufferings. Sympathy leads to paralysis. The man of action regards the external world as composed exclusively of inert matter, either intrinsically inert, like a stone he walks on or kicks out of his path, or inert, like a human being who couldn't resist him and thus might as well be a stone as a man, since, like a stone, he was walked on or kicked out of the way. The best example of the practical man is the military strategist, in whom extreme concentration of action is joined to its extreme importance. All life is war, and the battle is life's synthesis. The strategist is a man who plays with lives like the chess player with chess pieces. What would become of the strategist if he thought about how each of his moves brings night to 1,000 homes and grief to 3,000 hearts? What would become of the world if we were human? If man really felt, there would be no civilization. Art gives shelter to the sensibility that action was obliged to forget. Art is Cinderella, who stayed at home because that's how it had to be. Every man of action is basically cheerful and optimistic, because those who don't feel are happy. You can spot a man of action by the fact that he's never out of sorts. A man who works in spite of being out of sorts is an auxiliary to action. He can be a bookkeeper, as it were, in the vast general scheme of life, as I happen to be in my own particular life, but he cannot be a ruler over things or men. Rulership requires insensibility. Whoever governs is happy, since to be sad, one has to feel. Today, my boss, Senor Vasquez, closed a deal that brought a sick man and his family to ruin. As he negotiated the deal, he completely forgot that this man existed, except as the opposing commercial party. After the deal was closed, he was touched by sensibility. Only afterwards. Of course, since, otherwise, the deal would never have been made. I feel sorry for the fellow, he told me. He's going to wind up being destitute. Then, lighting up a cigar, he added, well, if he needs anything from me, meaning some kind of charity, I won't forget that I have him to thank for a good business deal and a few thousand escudos. Senor Vasquez isn't a crook. He's a man of action. The loser in this game can indeed count on my boss's charity in the future. For he's a generous man. Senor Vasquez is like all men of action, be they business leaders, industrialists, politicians, military commanders, social and religious idealists, great poets, great artists, beautiful women, or children who do what they please. The one who ordains is the one who doesn't feel. The one who succeeds is the one who thinks only of what is needed for success. The remaining general lot of humanity, amorphous, sensitive, imaginative, and fragile, is no more than the backdrop against which these actors perform until the puppet show ends. No more than the flat and lifeless chessboard over which the pieces move until they're put away by the great player who, fooling himself with a double personality, plays against his own person and is always entertained. Section 304. Faith is the instinct of action.